Welcome to Finca El Labrador de Acardia. I've just come out here today to see 3 truffle orchards that I haven't seen for a couple of months, which I've worked. I'm in the middle one now. This is a little bit further from the house. There's one down there. It's all on terracing. Another one here, and another one up there. So I haven't finished before I had to leave them, so that the truffles can begin to develop. I hadn't finished taking off all the cages or treating the soil, but they're responding, which is important. So I put down agricultural lime and ploughed it in. Let's take this one for example. This tree for example. Here I managed to get the protective caging off it that had been on there for too long, and pruned it, and it's had agricultural lime and it is responding. You can see good growth. Some of them are responding more than others, but in general they're definitely responding. So these were planted maybe 10, maybe 15 years ago. They were planted and they're just abandoned. So the whole field was overgrown. There was a lot of pine, small, but a mixture of small to medium-sized pines. It's just like a forest of them, and lots of other undergrowth. So I think the soil had become very acid. That's why I put down agricultural lime, and I think I might have to put down some more. And I was wondering, because I could see them responding almost straight away, and I thought, is it the lime? Is it because I've aerated the soil? Is it because I've pruned them, taken the cages off? But I think it's just a mixture of all of those things. So I'm going to keep going like that. I've got to take the rest of the cages off and prune them. They've missed that early pruning, which they need really for the roots to develop properly, for the truffles to be able to have a medium to grow, and they've missed that. But I'm going to try and catch up with it. But some of them are so out of shape. But I'm going to keep at it. The problem is the soil. I needed to plough it, and I didn't go really deep, but I think I went deeper than you're supposed to, because of course with a fungus which grows just under the surface of the soil, what you don't really want to be doing is disturbing it. But nothing was going to grow as it was, and I needed to get the lime in. And so I thought, well, let's start anew. We'll work the soil, we'll get the lime in, and we'll take it from here, because there was nothing to lose. They weren't going to produce anything as they were, and that's it. What I now need to do is to get this smoother, and I think the key is really getting some water at some point on them. They do like dry, hot spells, but I think they need a certain amount of water. We have got water from a spring, but I've got to get it up to this point. But I think that's going to be the key. The lime has definitely made a difference. The grass is coming out greener, although we don't really want grass on here. So I can't see a clear one here. But truffles produce a herbicide which obviously fights off the competition of the grass growing on the surface. And what happens with that is that you get what's called a boulet, which is burnt in French, more or less, and it usually takes the form of an almost perfect circle around the tree trunk, and that's usually an indicator that you have truffles growing. I'm just going up to the next terrace. I welcome any recommendations if people have them to share. Actually, here you get a slightly better view of where I was. You can see they were planted well in their rows, but it's been such a struggle getting them back into production. We've got a bit of a storm forming over there by the look of it. I hope it doesn't hit us head on, because I'm not really a fan of thunder and lightning with our solar install. And I think what I really need to do is get it to a stage where, you know, the soil is flat, damp, and free of grass. But easier said than done. But I'm halfway there. You might think, oh, these were really out of control and poorly managed. But I'm only halfway there. I've got to take the rest of these protective cages off. See these protective cages that are still here? They were obviously just put on when they were planted to protect them from the wildlife. They've served their purpose, but they're now preventing the proper growth. And also the tree should have been pruned a little bit as it starts growing, keeping a nice sort of round crown on the top, and that hasn't been done either. This is an example of one that I have taken the cage off and pruned it, and it's responding well. Even though they've been completely abandoned, these seem to be very good examples, and they're still strong and still fighting. That cage has got to come off now, that's got to be pruned, the rest of the grass has got to be taken off around it. So these are hollyoaks. They're the Mediterranean version. They're the oak family. They don't grow as big. The bark is a good giveaway. It looks very much like an oak tree. Not at the moment, because they're still very young and the bark is quite smooth. But the older, larger examples really show that they're a form of oak. Okay, and the main difference, apart from a little bit smaller, is that obviously the leaf is adapted to a hotter, drier climate. It's smaller, less transpiration, but still able to photosynthesize. You can serve that water that there's not so much of. And they're called hollyoaks because these look very like holly leaves. They've got little spines on them, like holly, which is another quercus. I think quercus is the oak family. Holly is Quercus ilex. So that's what they are. They're called carrascas in Spanish, which is where we are. Truffles will grow on hazel, several other, and they'll even grow on pine, strangely on pine roots. They like alkaline soil, which is another reason that I put down agricultural lime. However, I've seen that carrascas will grow in amongst pine trees where it's very acid quite happily. So I don't, but the truffles themselves definitely like an alkaline soil, and the carrascas, the hollyoaks, seem to respond well to that as well. Here is an example of the brulee, which shows, I mean, that's natural. So that's a herbicide which is released by the fungus, by the truffles, as they grow, and allowing more moisture and nutrients to get to them, I suppose. Nature's like that. Fabulous. But that is a good indication that there might be truffles there. It could just be leftovers from our previous growth, previous harvest. But that's what I was talking about with the brulee. So this, of course, is a winter crop. From October, middle of October onwards, we should start to see some truffles. From mid-April, you really can't do anything more to the soil. It should be left. You really can't work it anymore, which is what happened. This is as far as I got. They start growing and forming over the summer months, hot, dry, which they like. This is another one that's doing quite well. And then with the autumnal wet weather, which we're supposed to have, but don't always, they begin to get bigger, to fill out, and from November through to March you should be getting harvests of truffles. It's a notoriously difficult crop to work because you can't see it, so you don't know what's going on under the soil for all of those months that you're waiting until you start to hunt for them, which, by the way, has to be done, can only really be done with a trained dog, because otherwise it's impossible to find them. You can't just go digging up everywhere. I have just seen here a hole. Now, I haven't dug this. This could be a wild boar, most likely. We have lots of wild boar here, and it's middle of September. They could have stolen one of our truffles. That could be a positive sign that there are truffles here. Wild boar love truffles. They're very good at sniffing them out. It may have been another food that it's rather partial to, some other root or something, but that's quite a deep, important hole that it's dug there, and that is another difficulty with this crop, and something that's going to have to be solved. I'm going to have to fence this off somehow. Very, very difficult. If anybody's got any suggestions on that, I'm thinking of using electric fencing. Wild boar might crash through it. It's just too much expense and time to put up some with the area that I've got to cover. These are just 3. We've got 10 orchards in total, more or less the same size as these, but spread all over the estate. The other one down there as a viable solution. I was thinking of electric fencing, or maybe a combination of dead hedging, because we've got a lot of branches from some felling that we're doing from pine trees. A combination of dead hedging and an electric fence. But I think unless we do that, most of our crop is going to go to the wild boar that are here every day and every night. They'll find them before we can. Well, I think that gives a good idea of where we're at with that. There's some. Probably see here. It was more noticeable, but you can see it here. So there's underground water here. We haven't been able to tap it, but there are two channels, should we say, of underground water running down from one of the highest points up there through this little valley here. One is here, and that I think is why these terraces were originally built here. And you can see that right here. So in this terrace down here, you can see how large these trees are here, which is exactly where the water runs down through, and it goes all the way down, long way down the valley where the terraces run all the way down, and you can see it in the grass as well. There's very green or greener grass where the water runs through. But then if you see these here, which are just out of the catchment of where the main water runs through, they're a lot less developed. Right? These 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 there are just outside where that water's running down through, and you can see that in all of the terraces. As you go down, you can see where the water's running through. That obviously can be solved if I can get some irrigation in, which I think we'll just have to do. But it's good that they are planted where they are, because you've got the advantage of that underground water, which gets them off to a good start. So, well, we'll continue with this as I continue to get it all under control, and certainly if we come across any truffles, well, I think I'll go out. I'll get some footage when I have a friend of ours coming up with his truffle hunting dog. We'll get some footage there of actually hunting for some truffles.